Hi folks, so welcome to Module 3 of EDU 390. So I'm going to give you an overview of what I'd like you to do this week and some of the resources that you have to support you. Your instructions are here, but I'm not going to, you can read those. Let me get to here. So this week we're going to look at that stage 3. This is the scope and sequence of your unit plan. So this video takes you through this handout, which you should print out to have in front of you. And this takes you through it and gives you guidance on what the acronym where to means and how you use that in your unit plan. So make sure you watch that video. The last few seconds are cut off, but they weren't really important, so don't worry about that. I don't know what happened to that. And this video is, oh, I misspelled, I'll fix that, is the scope and sequence for my unit plan, the model that I gave you last week for the unit plan template. And this is my scope and sequence, my learning plan. This is what it's going to look like for my unit. Now it's pretty long, so I'm not expecting yours to be this long. I took something I already had and then just, did the learning plan for you so you could see it. So don't use mine as a model in terms of how long it has to be, okay? Because mine is very long. It's 20 some odd days, 30 days or something like that. I don't expect yours to be like that, but it does give you an idea of what it means to do a scope and sequence. So you can see, and I'm not going to go over the whole thing because the video does that, but you'll see what I mean when you watch it. So make sure you do watch it. And I do apologize for my dog in the background. She's dragging around her dog tags. We call it her cheap jewelry. She always decides to make noise when I record. And these two videos I did last spring for EDU 390, and I'm using them again because they're exactly the same, what I want you guys to get. And then you're going to do a lesson plan this week, create your introductory lesson plan. So I've given you two templates. This one is a little more, they're both backward design. This one is a little more each step by step, and it's the one I use for student teaching, because in student teaching I do want students to really give me every step, so when I go to visit them I can see what they're doing. So you can use that template if you want to, and I've done an example of lesson 1 using that template for my unit plan. This is the one that you'll see in the video that you watched, the where to video on my model, because it's the one that I used when I was a high school teacher. And feel free to use this one as well. This one is a little more, a little less detailed, but still a good unit plan, lesson plan template to use. So pick the one you want, but be consistent, okay? And then just think about your text set, what you're going to use for materials, and I'll give you some information here. And then here are some links and lists of activities and strategies. So please remember that you're going to create this introductory lesson, and then you're going to keep building those lesson plans. You're going to build out from your scope and sequence. Think about activities and strategies that you can use to both front load, which means to scaffold and to build background knowledge. Think about activities you can use during the unit plan, and then some that you can use after. Some of these can be used at any point during a lesson plan. But make sure that the activity and strategy you choose they're purposeful. That they're not just like, oh, it looks really fun to do, so I'm going to put this in here. Make sure it's doing work for the kids. Okay, so it's not just busy work for them, because sometimes some of these things can look like busy work if you're not careful. But do look at them. If you don't like them, just go to the next one. But take some time. Again, you have 2 weeks. Okay, so take some time to look at these and think about how some of these might work for you. And if you have activities and strategies that you'd like to use, certainly don't feel as though you have to use the ones I'm giving you. This is only just the tip of the iceberg, folks. But I wanted you to have some things to look at. Below here are some examples that I did not link to, but if you wanted to look to see how teachers have used those, feel free to do some research. On the syllabus, I gave you links to places where that you can go to look at teacher lesson plans and unit plans, and they're specific to your content discipline, so you can look at those to see how teachers might have used some strategies or strategies that I don't have listed here. Okay. And by the way, you can feel free to borrow from these sites, and so if you find a lesson plan that you really like and you'd like to sort of use that, certainly you can use it, but I would want you to make it your own, okay? And then I want you to cite where you got it. So if you went to Read, Write, Think, which is a literacy, reading, writing, as you can imagine, Read, Write, Think website, and you wanted to use one of their lessons, fine, but make sure that you then craft it to make it your own so it fits well into your lesson plan, your unit plan. Sorry, I keep mixing up those words. I apologize. And then cite where you got the information. Okay, that's only fair. Then I'd like you to watch 2 videos on Bloom's taxonomy. Bloom's taxonomy is really important to think about when you're crafting lessons and using strategies, because oftentimes we get stuck in these lower order thinking skills of recall and remembering, when we really should be up here with applying and synthesizing and evaluating. But to get to the higher order, we have to work through lower order as well. So there's room for both of them. And then here are some links and some that you should look at carefully. Here's a really fun video to watch, Bloom's Taxonomy according to Andy Griffith. So go ahead and watch that. It's just real fun. And it helps you, I think for me it helped to really put Bloom's Taxonomy into context. And then I want you to consider literacy, because remember we have Common Core state standards for literacy in all content areas. So if you're a science teacher, a math teacher, or an art teacher, or whatever, anything beside, if you're not an English teacher, you still have to consider literacy, reading and writing in your discipline. And what does it mean to be a reader and writer in your discipline? What kind of specialized knowledge do you have to teach your students? So here are some writing to learn. These are great formative assessments, easy to incorporate into any kind of a lesson, any content lesson that gives students some writing. Here are some writing projects that they could complete in your content area class. Raft is one of my very favorites. So if I give you any advice this week, I'd have you look at that really closely. It's really fun. And here are some examples. The kids enjoy doing it. It's very creative, but it also does really good work in helping them learn something about your content area. This is a very long document, A Time to Act. It's about literacy, the state of literacy education in our country. If you find yourself short on time, read just the executive summary. But at some point, I really, really would like to have you to read that article. It's really very good and very enlightening. And then I've included this little bookmark here. It's one I made for my students when I was a teacher and when I was a literacy specialist, and I gave it out to all my content area teachers to help them think about the moves we make when we read. And oftentimes we do it so automatically that we don't think about what it takes to be a good reader. And when we have striving readers in our classroom, here's a way to help them to gain these strategies, to think about what they need to do when they're reading. So feel free to duplicate that bookmark and share it. I got the idea for it from Jeff Wilhelm in his books, which are great books, by the way, if you want to steep yourself in some literacy instruction. So anyway, 2 things to read from the internet: Using Superheroes to Teach English and History, which is very good. So you English and history people should read that. The rest of you should read it too, just because it's good to know what's happening in other disciplines, and you may see a way to use that concept in your own classroom. And then 5 ways to help your students become better questioners. So a lot of pre-service teachers and student teachers will complain, how do you get kids to talk, and they don't want to talk, or they want to talk about something else. So here are some things to sort of help you with that. Here are your reading assignments. And then for your discussion forum this week, I'd like you to engage in a conversation about literacy. What does it mean to be a reader and writer in your discipline? How will you teach these skills? Remember that if you're going to assign if you're going to assign writing in your classroom, you need to teach them, what you want, what the expectations are. And so you don't want to just assign, you need to teach it. And then for this week, I want you to complete your scope and sequence for your unit plan using the where to considerations. You'll see in my video what I've done is I've mapped out each day, and then for each activity I've put a code beside it, what it represents on that where to scale. Okay, I'd like you to do that as well, because that will help you think about what you're missing or what you have too much of, perhaps. Okay. I don't expect full-blown lesson plans for this. I only want just a short little what's happening on particular days. Okay, that's what a scope and sequence is about. And if you look at mine, you'll see what I mean. But once you have, sorry, I can't get down far enough for this. Once you have, it's going to be cut off. But anyway, once you have your scope and sequence completed and you've submitted that to me for feedback, again, this is all feedback, people. I'm not grading you on any of these things yet. These are all, this is what we do when we're learning. We submit, we get feedback, we bring it back, we revise. Then I want you to create a detailed introductory lesson plan for your unit of study. So think about what that first lesson needs to look like. You know, do you have to build background knowledge? Do you have to remind students of their what they know, their prior knowledge they're bringing to this unit plan? You have to hook them. Okay, so you can look at my introductory lesson plan as a model, that then consider the where to, you know, what they're saying about, you know, hooking kids and holding them, making it relevant. And I want you to use one of those lesson plan templates and give a detailed lesson. So I want to know what you're doing and what you're expecting the kids to do, and so forth and so on. And you'll see my introductory lesson plan, you know, fleshed out. So that'll give you an idea. So that's it. So that's it for this week. This module, I should say. You have 2 weeks to do this. I don't think it's too onerous for 2 weeks to get this work done and to spend some time exploring. In your journals, folks, I forgot to mention this. There seems to be a lot of difficulty in getting these Google Docs up, and I don't know why, because it's not, you know, it should be relatively easy. So make sure that you're having a conversation. The whole idea of sharing these journals in your content area groups is that you talk to one another digitally. You can't, you know, we're not in person, so I can't put you in, you know, a corner of the room to talk about your text. So I'm putting you in a corner of the internet. To talk about your content area, not just what you're reading in the textbook, but what you're doing in the module. So have conversations about, you know, the where to, or the unit plan template, the lesson plans. You know, talk to each other about those things. That's what it's all about. So I'm going to expect a little bit more of that conversation as we move on. So I've given people sort of a little leeway as they get up and running and get their journals going and kind of get the hang of things. But I really want to see, you know, see this conversation happening. Okay, so that's it, folks. I'll be talking to you soon.